everybody, Sean and Kelly here with Samson Properties, and today we're going to talk about everywhere we go, people want to know who we are, so we tell them we are the Realtors, the mighty, mighty Realtors. No, really, what are we talking about? I mean, sort of that.
So people are asking us, we've been getting questions, what does it take to be a Realtor and what's it like to be a Realtor? So we're going to dive into that.
Yes, we are.
Okay. Okay, you ready for this?
Yeah, and I think after my amazing introduction, I think we're going to let you lead us off into what does it take to be a Realtor in the state of Virginia, because it's all state specific.
Yes, so in the state of Virginia, to get your real estate license, you have to take a 60-hour course. You can do that online or in person. Once you have completed that 60-hour course, you apply for your exam, get fingerprinted, get your background check done. You go and you take the national portion of the exam and the state-specific portion of the exam. Once you pass those, you find a broker and you hang your license with them, and you are now a Realtor.
And after a certain amount of time, so that's your pre-licensing.
Yes.
And then you will have a post-licensing that you have to do. And then every, year?
Yeah.
Or 2 years? It's state specific, and we each have 3 different state licenses.
Yeah, so it gets all over the place.
But then you have CEUs, right? Continuing education, hours that you have to get, and tests that you have to take to maintain your license.
Yep. And a lot of that testing is on ethics, state-specific laws.
Fair housing.
Fair housing, a lot of fair housing, a lot of lending rules and regulations and real estate law.
And that's just to keep your license, right? I mean, individual brokerages and real estate associations, the local ones, they have a lot of different trainings and classes that are not mandatory, but if we're going to be doing a great job, we really attend all of those too. So there's a whole lot of school training that's ongoing.
That's a very good point. So
I have them.
You have them all the time. So, and I told Kelly I wanted to mention this specifically. So when I when I graduated from chiropractic school,
I wasn't listening. I think I led you here all by myself.
Okay, good. Well, I got something to say.
Say it, baby.
When I graduated from chiropractic school, it was an 8-year curriculum. I had to get my bachelor's degree, then go through 4 years of training, internship, labs, and all these different things. And when I graduated, our instructors always really drilled it into us that graduating and getting your license as a chiropractic physician lets you begin to learn how to be a chiropractor.
I thought that was the dumbest thing.
I did too.
When we were launching, I'm like, no, now
we're
like,
ready to go.
It's going to be real,
And after 15 years in practice, that was very true. You learn techniques, you deep dive into them, you learn nutrition, you learn all these different things, but you have to do that on your own. Yeah. So that was after 8 years of education. Yeah. I have never seen a profession that applies to more than a real estate license.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Once you get that 60-hour class completed and you get your license, that class teaches you nothing about
because you walk out and you're like,
estate.
I'm licensed, but I have no idea what to do.
I've never seen a contract. What is an addendum and what does that mean?
Yeah, what do you mean legal description? I can give you a legal description all day, but
right.
I don't know
Meets
how to write an escalation thing. What is this?
So it is really important to understand that experience in real estate is critical because we learn on every transaction, and we're up over 80 transactions now, just recent transactions. So every transaction is a new challenge, and so if you're making a choice of an agent based on the fact that, hey, my niece just got their license, I really want to help support them, that's great, but make sure they have a mentor that's walking alongside them, because there are going to be things that come up that if they don't know how this works, it could be very costly.
And I mean, if they're your friend or family, they want to protect you too, so they would probably really want to hook up with someone and for the help, because they don't want to lead you astray either. But I remember just a year or 2 into having our licenses, I can remember asking an amazing agent, local agent. She's been doing it forever. Like, I think she sold Jesus his house. And I'm like, so when do we know it? When do you feel like I've got this? Whoever comes my way, like, I got all the answers. She said never. Ever. She said every single transaction she learns something new and something catches her off guard. And that is when it's about having really amazing relationships within the real estate community. That's with other realtors, that's with lenders and title attorneys, and inspector, everyone, and you know who to call, and that's the key.
There are so many nuances. That is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
that's where experience matters,
it does,
right?
It does.
You've had time to build those connections and those relationships, so that you cannot have every answer that could come up.
That's a really good point. So we're constantly you're
full of something.
We're constantly building out systems. Like we'll come through and we'll see we'll have an experience in a transaction, and like, okay, that came out of nowhere, so now we have to add something new in, so that never catches us off guard. And then there will be something. Every time you think you get ahead, there's always some little nuance. And it may come from title one time, it may come from lending, it may come from just some detail in the contract. It may come from one of the clients. Just all of a sudden they think something up and they're like, hey, I just feel
that one deal came from a freaking hole in the ground. You remember that? It can come from anywhere.
So anyway.
I kid you not.
Which one are you talking about?
Remember that septic issue?
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah. So there's all kinds of good stuff that can happen. So anyway, experience does matter. So let's dive into this. So we got some questions about what is it like to be in real estate and so on.
Yeah, and I think that these questions picked up a lot, like in the pandemic, when people were kind of rethinking, hey, a job change and all that, and real estate was a really hot topic right now. So I'm going to scroll through some of these. Okay, here's one. Is it required to go to your office every single day? Okay, and that was huge, right? That was a big one because people were working from home, but then in real estate, you're not at home a lot. So what do we, and some brokerages, they don't even have offices. So answer that for us.
So no, it is not required to go to your office. Now, some agents, if you're a social agent, you're somebody who likes to interact with people and you feed off of the energy, then you may want to go to a brokerage that does have an office, and you may, be energized by going in and visiting with people. It's great for camaraderie. It's great for bouncing ideas off of each other, but it can also be a negative because you're probably in there with other social agents, and you get there and next thing you know, you spent 4 hours and have done nothing. So that could be a challenge.
Yeah, and I'll say, working with the brokerage where we worked from home, they didn't have the offices. I'm like, this is great. This is fantastic. But the more we've done it, the more I'm excited that now we're going to have a Tyson's office.
Yes, yes, that's going to be great.
But the idea of going in there and being around people and being able to just say, oh my gosh, this just happened to me, and have those people say, that happened to me, here's how we can help, and us being able to do that too. I'm really, really excited about that. But because I'm not a social person, it's going to be very easy for me to go into the office, close the door, and get the work done.
That's right.
I'm not going to be tempted to stay out and socialize.
That's exactly right. So no, it is not required. I think it's more agent specific. And some brokerages do offer offices, and the agents never go into the office even though they have that option.
That's true.
Okay. What's next?
Okay. Is it necessary for new real estate agents to join teams?
This is a mixed
I have so many feelings about this.
So let's go with your feelings first. I have a very clear feeling on it.
I know you do.
Yep.
If my answer would be, I am on a team. I need to be on a team. I'm a team player because there are so many things that I cannot do that a successful real estate agent must do. But you're my team.
Right.
If I didn't have you as team lead, I would definitely be on another team because I would be support, right? I'm great at managing the structure of the deal, at compliance and the liaisoning and the contracts and making sure everybody's doing what they need to do at all the right times. But I'm really, really crap at everything you do.
Yep. No, just kidding. And I'm crap at what you do, so it's the same thing. But I have a question.
Yeah.
Is liaisoning a word?
Maybe not. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Sure. What?
She always,
I think it's liaison.
Yeah.
Liaisoning?
Liaisoning. Okay. I'm going to go liaison.
Whatever, you're not going to cut that out either, are you?
I'm not.
That's so wrong.
So you're absolutely right. There are lots of strengths and weaknesses. And there's so, like, as an agent, if you're a single agent, you have to do everything from your own marketing, your own prospecting, your own social media, your own contract to close management. Everything has to be done by you. And in coming out with your real estate license, unless you're getting trained and all that, you have no clue how to do it.
That's right.
So your brokerage can help you with it, but go ahead.
Well, I wanted to say because this is going to go into another one of our questions, what is the biggest thing that you need to be able to do as a realtor? So I'm going to add that to this, and that's what he does.
Yeah.
Lead generation. You have to be able to generate the leads and and like pound the pavement, make the calls, just get the work. So you talk about that, and then I'm going to talk about.
So the most important thing you have to do is you have to work. It is not an easy job. I hear there's a show on TV called Selling Sunset that inspires a lot of people to go into real estate. And I've never watched the show, but my understanding is it makes it look like it's just this glamorous thing. You go look at all these fantastic houses and you write all these deals and you make all this money and you drive all these cars. And it is not like this. This is our third business we've run together. This is by far the hardest business that we have ever run, because number one, everybody knows 3 realtors. So you have huge competition. Number 2, so you really have to know what you're doing to stand out. And number 2, you have to be able to go out there and generate the business. And most realtors don't come in realizing that it is a constant grind of finding your clients. So if you're not willing to do that, if all you want to do is go show a house, then you need to join a team. Because those teams spend hundreds of thousands of dollars a month on marketing to generate these prospects for you to be able to go and show these properties. And so that would be a situation where you would want to do that.
So we've, as you probably know by now, have really great relationships with other realtors, and some of them lead big teams, and they've all said, no, wait, like Sean would never work on a team because he's his own engine, right? He's like a lead generating engine. I'm more the grunt. So I do the graphics work and all the stuff that really, if he were going to be a single agent, you would hire out. But here's the key. So let's say he didn't lead a team of his own. He was just a single agent and didn't have me. He would have to hire out the transaction coordinator to do contracts and contract to close. He would have to hire out graphics design, hire out marketing, and hire out all this. And not only is he hiring all that out, but he's managing them and making sure everybody stays on point at all times. Or he's hiring a personal assistant to do all that, right? So basically, I fill all these little tiny grunt boxes.
And you know what? And the beautiful thing for the grunt here is that while she's doing all of that, she also keeps me on track, because I tend to go into different directions.
That's true. That's true. I do keep you on track. But he's down there making the uncomfortable phone calls, the ones that if someone hung up on me or gave me a bad tone of voice, I would go crawl into a cave and cry for a little bit and be like, but don't they understand I have to work? I mean, I can't handle it. So that's... And my opinion is, if you're a new agent, especially if you have never run a business. Now, the reason that we didn't join a team in the beginning is because we had run 2 businesses. We had built systems. We knew how to sell. And we knew how to work together.
We knew how to work together, and we knew what it took.
Yeah.
I saw a lot of physicians that I graduated from chiropractic school with that went into their own practice, and they would set up their office hours, and they would just go in when they had patients. They would not be there. We knew from the beginning that it's like, if we're there 8 to 6, we're there 8 to 6, and we're working.
I grind and you pound it, man. I mean, and we've always done that with every business.
So you just have to have that. You have to have that. And if you don't have that in yourself, if you come in with an employee mindset where you've got a boss that's kind of telling you what to do. The best thing,
minimum.
The best thing about real estate is that you're your own boss. The worst thing about real estate is you're your own boss, because it's so easy to just take a day off.
But I'm really bossy, so that works.
And I'm really addicted to work, so we work out.
Yeah, that's great. I love this is great. The other thing, so you said this was the most difficult business we've ever had. So we've had a chiropractic office for 15 years. We've had a product development. So that being said, this is my very favorite thing in the whole wide world. I was in a form of real estate when we met when I was 19. And I loved it then. So I love the people, I love the agents, I love the other professionals, the lenders and the title attorneys, the buyers, the sellers. Like, I love these people. So I really, really love this job.
Yeah, it's great. It's been the most profitable business we've had. And it's been, now that's the thing too with profit. So we got to cut this short a little bit, because we have to get with Tatiana in a second. But the only negative to joining a team as a new agent is you're giving up a lot of your income, but you need to look at how much you actually take home versus what you're giving up, because when you start out by yourself, if you don't have these qualities, you're not going to have any money anyway.
And understand that a lot of people are going to poo-poo your whole profession and act like they don't need you and think that they can do it all themselves. It's not like I need someone who knows how to, I don't know, change out my toilet or something. They know they can't usually
or adjust your spine.
Or adjust your spine, or like give you an injection of something. Realtors, they think they can do it, so that's a hard thing for some people. Okay, this is the last question before we get to Tatiana.
Okay.
How long do I have to stay at a brokerage?
It's a good question.
And there were some like, do I have to have a brokerage? So start there. Yes, you do have to have, hang your license is what it's called. So you get your real estate license and you have to hang your license with a broker. And it's basically the house, it's the big boss daddy, right?
Yep, that's who you represent. So all of your agreements, everything is done as a representation of that broker, which we went into in our representation.
Do you have to interview? Has been some, a lot of times as a new agent, you need to interview with brokerages. Once you've been an agent and have established yourself, any agent or broker can go on and look and see like how well you're doing online on the multiple listing service, and they can see that. So you get to where you don't have to interview anymore.
And some brokerages specialize with beginning agents, so they have a lot of training that's geared to get you that way, get you up and running. Some brokerages don't have that program. They're looking for agents that have been more experienced, and they want more of the less of the training aspect.
At least have a mix of it. I think a mix is really, really good. I don't think there's a minimum time you have to stick with a brokerage, but you never ever want to burn any bridges. Things change with brokerages just like they do with any kind of place of employment. The dynamics change, the managers can change, managing brokers can change. So you always want to just keep everything. I mean, I'm big on relationships, and we are just keeping everything really positive and never burning bridges, and just find the place that works for you and your personality and where you are at the stage of your real estate career, because what is good for you in the beginning, that changes over time. And as you get more experience, then you can move on to a different situation.
So if anybody's like thinking about coming into real estate, or they have questions about what this looks like and their specific situation, we've worked in mentor programs, we've helped new agents, and we're happy to just answer those questions. No strings attached. There's no attachment to coming and working with us.
And I love it. And I will answer your question so honestly, because I wasn't born. Apparently, I wasn't born with that filter thing that filters out all the bull crap. So I'll just tell you how it is.
All right, so if you have any questions about what it takes to be an agent, let us know. Maybe we'll do a couple more of these, like diving into a little bit of the specifics of the actual running of the business. But right now, that's what it takes to become an agent. That's what the beginning of it looks like. And
so don't be a criminal where your background check will come back shady. Don't be a high school dropout, or at least get your GED. It's okay if you're a beauty school dropout.
And age does not matter. There are 18-year-old agents that do phenomenally well, and there are really old agents that still do well.
We can do it forever. You're going to see us for so long.
All right, let's get on to the market report so we can get on to Tatiana. All right. Okay, here we are with the market snapshot. What has happened in the last 7 days, and we're going to do this in less than 5 minutes. And I know we have to get to Tatiana quickly.
You know what? I'm good at these.
All right, here we go.
You don't ever let me talk. Okay.
All right.
As usual, everybody, we have the orange line, which represents the buyer activity, and the blue line represents inventory. Take it over. That's all I know. That's all I've memorized so far.
Okay, so this buyer activity, this inventory, you can see in the last 7 days, we have had an increase in buyer activity, which has been pretty steady for the last few months. It's just continuing to go up. And then we can see the inventory had flatlined, but last week we had a little spike in inventory. Our gap between demand versus supply has decreased just a little bit versus what it was in the previous week.
But thank you, sellers, for giving us inventory.
Yes, thank you for the inventory. So we can see that we did go a little bit weaker in the strength of the seller's market over the last 7 days, but we are still trending very strongly upwards. And what's going to end up happening...
I have a theory on why we went down on the seller's market. I think it's because the weather was so good that people were out enjoying that, and not so much in the house buying, compared with, we were hoping the interest rates were going to be lower and they're not. I'm weary and the weather's gorgeous.
Could be.
But the weather's about to get crappy again, so watch out.
Could be. Or, I love to say more to you like this. So that could be it. I think that definitely,
be what Kelly said.
Because a lot of people do travel and everything, so I think you could be absolutely right. And the other thing is, we see that when we flatline like this, quite often, if you follow the trends throughout the last year, you'll see that buyer activity always follows inventory. So inventory had gone up here, and so buyer activity started going up because there were properties to buy. But when it flatlines, those properties sell. Those properties all sell out. And so what ends up happening is there's nothing for the buyers to buy, so buyer activity can tend to come down. Now here's what's been crazy. Even with that flat line, buyer activity has still been increasing. So what I think is going to happen is, since we got this little spike, because of this spike, everything's about pretty. Because of this spike, I think buyer activity is going to shoot up again next week. But so we'll test the theory. Let's see. Does the buyer activity shoot up next week?
Because the weather's so bad. What else is there to do?
Oh, it's not great. Yeah, it doesn't work because it's not going to do it.
I think maybe I shouldn't have said that.
Anyway, it's still a strong seller's market. If you're a buyer, you got to be strategic. If you're a seller, get on the market now.
Call us.
Yes, get on the market now. Let's get you out there because
we'll give you
the buyers are there.
If you call us and list your house, we'll give you a good present.
That's right. We need to figure out what that is.
You figure out what it is. Call us and you tell us what you want.
All right, let's get over to Tatiana. We'll see you guys next week. If you have any questions, let us know.
Bye.
Hey everybody, and here we have with us Tatiana, I believe, Lopez from Prosperity Home Mortgage. Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, long time no see.
I know, we missed you last week, and so tell us, what are rates doing now?
Yeah, and I want to qualify this. We gave you an extra week off for you to fix what was going on, so you better give us good news today.
So the rates, can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay, so the rates actually improved a little bit since last week.
Off and it helped. That's because of us. Everybody can thank us.
Thank you. So, and the good news is that national economy is growing, unemployment is low, and corporate revenue are up. So, but with inflation still being above Fed's 2% goal and the jobs market holding strong, Fed's isn't likely to cut rates in the next March meeting.
Mm-hmm.
And chief economist of National Association of Realtors, Lawrence Young, said the Federal Reserve will not cut interest rates in the first half of the year, in my view, but the rates cuts of 3, 4, and even 5 rounds will be possible in the second half of the year. So that's a quote from Lawrence. And and also key points from Mortgage Bankers Association is that average contract interest rates for 30-year fixed mortgage on conventional conforming a balance like 766, 550 or less decreased. So the applications to refinance a home increased by 12% for the last week, and they are 5% higher than the same week a year ago. And application for mortgage purchase rose 5% from the last week, but it's still 11% lower than a year before. But with rates going down, applications are up, more competition again.
Right.
Let's just jump there, not to wait for rates to go down, possibly go down, right? In the second half of the year, because that's when you can refinance. And now you can just have less competition and buy now and later be happy with appreciation of the property and you can refinance.
That's right, because I remember when we were talking around the first part of this year, the big hope was that the rates were going to be, we were going to have a significant rate cut in March, like, a lot lower than what we had, which we had a little touch of 6%, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I think we had talked about how the expectation was for it to go significantly lower than that. And then they said, no, we're going to hold off. And now maybe closer to the end of the year, but then the prices are still appreciating, right? So to just wait and hope for something that may or may not happen does seem like not a good bet.
Well, and it's almost like the window, it's almost like a gift is being given and that window is being expanded a little bit. And it's still multiple offers out there. Things are still going very quickly, but because the rates haven't continued to come down, it's not as chaotic as it could be. It's still a strong seller's market and it's getting stronger. but there's a window of opportunity for buyers right now where it's the, if they do wait until, the June timeframe when things do start coming down, it's going to go crazy.
Ooh, what is this? What are we looking at?
You see this one right here, it's very nice chart. It shows with rates going up, the mortgage applications going down. You can see how it correlates, right?
Yeah.
So it's logical.
Yeah.
When rates are going up, mortgage applications are down, so you have less competition.
Yeah.
Right. That's the time to buy. If you can afford to buy, that's when you should buy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I like that chart.
Yeah.
But you said there was an increase in applications for refinances?
And for refinances too. So I think people that maybe have over 8% interest rate, they're applying also, cash out refinances.
Okay.
Yeah,
With
there's
appreciation, people want to tap into the.
a lot of equity out there right now, so that makes sense. Okay. All right. All right. Anything else on interest rates?
That's about it.
Okay, at least you brought us some good news-ish.
Yeah, that's good. Well, I was actually afraid that with the unemployment rate going down and everything looking so great, I kind of was afraid the feds were going to say, maybe we should go ahead and do another little hike. So I think what you brought was really good news.
Yeah. I don't think they're gonna increase it anytime soon.
Okay.
All right, we're going to hold you to that.
I think.
Yeah, I think.
All right, so we have a question for you, and I know that you are prepared for this. And there's a specific client for me that comes to mind on this. And it was a gentleman that insisted he was looking at houses, he was looking at new builds and everything, and he had a lender, it was not you, that was on board and was jumping through hoops for him, and he would not let her pull his credit. He was determined that his Credit Karma score, and he was actually using his Credit Karma and his, I think it was like his Capital One credit card had a credit score attached to it or something. And he kept on sending these credit scores as his proof of his credit. And then when it came time for him to actually fill out the application and get the credit pull, that wasn't the case. And he didn't understand it. And there was this whole, chaos that ensued from that. So I think it's a really, really good topic for us to dive into. That's going to be a resource for people for a while. Like, how are the credit scores determined? Why can't you use Credit Karma? Like, give us the lowdown on all this.
Yes. I am ready. You're right. Just a little bit about the credit scores, right? We lenders use FICO credit score, which is Fair Isaac Corporation. And there are a lot of different scoring models within the FICO, and I'll talk about it in a little bit. But in general, most of the companies, they use FICO, and which measures risks for lenders or other creditors in the form of the score, right? And score could vary from 300 to 850. And based on that score, you're gonna get certain, for some certain products are available and certain terms are available. So in general, how is credit score calculated? We'll look at, so here's a nice chart right here. So 35% of the score calculation is based on payment history. Credit cards and or mortgage loans. Are there any late payments, 30, 60, 90 days late, or no late at all? If there are collection and charge-offs, any older problems with credit. 30% of credit scoring is based on amount on, so we call it credit utilization ratio. How much of the limit is used up on credit cards, for example, and you don't want your credit utilization ratio be over 10% of the limit. So, for example, if your credit card balance is $1,000, you don't want to have a balance over 10% of that limit. And how credit bureau knows what your balance is. The credit card companies report the balance to the bureau, right? But they don't report every time you use a credit card. They report it once a month, and they report it before your due date. Every credit card company is different, and I know that a lot of people use the credit card maybe to accumulate points, get cash back, right? So you use up maybe up to the limit of your credit card. Maybe your limit is $3,000 and you use all $3,000, but then you pay it off at the end of the month. And what happens is that if you pay it off on the day it's due, the credit card company reports before you pay it off. So credit bureau thinks that you still have that balance and your utilization ratio is high, so you're maxed up on your credit card. And that's negatively affects your credit by 30%.
Even if you pay it off each month, it still shows that it's carrying that balance. Wow.
Exactly.
You know what? It would be great if they all had to report at, say, the 15th of every single month. Then when someone was applying for credit, it's like, okay, pay off your card on the 5th of every month, so that would be empty. But you said they're all different?
They're all different. And if someone is working on building their credit history, credit score, and maybe getting ready to apply for a mortgage and want to increase the credit score, they should contact the credit card company. Just ask them, when do you report to the credit bureau? And maybe they report 5 or 10 days prior to the due date. Then you just pay it off at that time, or pay it down and keep the balance below 10% of the limit. So that's
a really good tip.
That's a great tip. I didn't realize that. That's awesome. Okay.
My 2 cents to that. So then we also look at length of credit history. How how old is your credit history? Important to keep older accounts open, because if you have 5 cards that are 5 years old, and then you decide to open a brand new card and consolidate all those balances into the one card, and you close out old cards, you wiped off 5 years of worth of credit history. So 15% of the scoring is based on the length. So you're gonna get hit with the credit score going down if you close out the old accounts.
Okay.
Yeah, so they look at average rate and minimum 2 years of history on age of older accounts. 10% usually is number of new accounts. How long have new accounts been opened? Recent requests for credits or inquiries. Those are usually negative effects on the credit score.
Can I ask you a question about the length of credit history real quick?
Yeah.
Does this, we have one of our credit cards, we've put a signer, one of our adult kids as a signer on it. So my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that will effectively help his credit history. Is that right? If it's my credit card and I've made him an authorized signer?
Exactly, yes. So, and they will score him based on history on that card. So if you have great history, never late, it's gonna be positive effect on his credit score. If you use it up, if you use it up to the maximum and you pay it off when it's due, and that it could present high utilization, then it would have a negative effect.
Negative effect. Okay, so that's something parents keep in mind. If you're really great, then do your kids a favor. If you're really bad at it, don't do them any favors. Okay, thank you. I wanted to clear that up.
But that 30% is huge. I did have a client who was authorized user on a credit card that was heavily used and had high balance, which was almost 100% of the limit. and her credit score was 640. I told her to get off that authorized user card. Her credit score went up to 800.
Wow.
And it's a true story. It's something that, people need to keep in mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so how then we have 10% influence on types of credit. So if we have installments, loans, revolving credit, revolving is credit cards, right? Installment, car loans, student loans, unsecured loans, stuff like that. Maybe retail accounts. So if you have different variety of cards, then that's it's about 10% influence on the credit scoring.
So that would be the credit mix on the graph over there on the right, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Correct. Yeah.
And do retail accounts reflect differently than revolving? Like, say retail would be like, you go into Ulta and they ask you to get a card. Did they reflect differently than, say, your American Express card?
So I guess they just also see that it's mixture of types of credit that you have, and it has some positive effect on that. So they can just see that you have different sorts of credit, and you're able to manage all that, and it's healthy credit history, and it helps.
Okay.
It's only 10% of influence, but it's still there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the question that you started with, Sean, about this client who was looking into, using Credit Karma, and it was completely different credit score. So why those scores are different? And that's because there are many different scoring models. Just with FICO, there are over 9 scoring models, and they have different sets of rules, and they look differently at those. The chart is not going to be the same for them as what I was showing you, right? Because some of them look at and score everything differently. For example, Credit Karma. Credit Karma uses vintage, not FICO. And even with FICO, the lenders use FICO 2, 4, and 5.
Okay.
There is FICO 8 is commonly used by credit cards. Okay. And they measure everything differently. For example, they don't look at late payments that are over 2 years old. Okay. So if you have some lates in 2020, it's been more than 2 years, they're not gonna take in consideration. Lenders use FICO 2, 4, and 5, and we look at credit history going back 7, 9 years. Okay. And we score based on that. Then, for example, they don't take medical collection for scoring. They don't use that. FICO 2, 4, 5, we do take that in consideration. If you have medical collection, that's gonna lower your credit score.
Okay.
Collections under $100 are not scored. And in general, they look at utilization and age of credit differently. Why a lot of companies like Credit Karma, CreditWise, they use Vintage or FICO 8 because they're cheaper, because they don't evaluate as deep as FICO 2, 4, and 5. So it's free service to people, right? So they actually use Vintage because it's cheaper for them. Okay. And unfortunately, it's in sort of misleading, because in case of your client, he was thinking he has great credit, and then when they finally pull the credit, it's not the same.
Also, it almost seems like their matrix may lead to an artificially higher score as well, which would draw people in to look at that, so then they can sell space to their advertisers and so on. So there might be an ulterior motive to presenting that different methodology to have that higher score.
Exactly, but also a lot of credit card companies or even car loans, when you get car loan, they will look at, they're not gonna look at this, use the same model as lenders do.
Yeah.
So for them, it's gonna be more accurate when someone is applying for a credit card than for the mortgage. But for the mortgage, you just need to keep in mind, it's gonna be different. People are scared of doing hard pull. But hard pull, as you saw, has only 10% influence on the score.
Right.
And when someone goes to TJ Maxx and they offer them 10% off on $100 bill, and they all excited and they apply for that credit card, that's gonna be a hard inquiry. So nobody thinks about that, right? But for the mortgage, and because we use different scoring models than everyone else, when we pull the credit, that credit score doesn't drop for us, and we go by our scores, not by Credit Karma or anyone else.
Right.
When you say it doesn't affect yours, do you mean, for example, your Prosperity mortgage, you pulled their credit, so you're not going to take that into account, but if another lender went and pulled credit, would your pull affect their score in their eyes?
It's gonna be actually the same, honestly.
Okay.
Yeah, they're gonna get exactly the same score, and I've seen that before when clients shop around and they tell me this is my score with another lender, and when I pull it, it's exactly the same.
Got it. Okay, makes sense.
I know we're going to be sending this video link to people again and again and again, because these graphs right here, I feel like
that answers a huge.
This whole thing is so full of answers to questions we get asked all the time, and this right here is a very good visual.
Yeah. Plus, I'm sure you're about to go into this, but the whole 3-score factor with taking the middle and so on, that's another layer of it.
Right. So there are 3 credit bureaus. TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian, and each gives us different scores, and we look at the middle score. So if somebody has 760, 730, and 720, we're gonna go by 730 credit score. If it's a couple applying, we'll look at the lowest of 2 middle scores. So if one spouse has 740 and another has 640, we're gonna go by 640 credit score.
That's when you're like, get off of my application.
And sometimes I do suggest that you know, if one person qualifies on their own, just, you know, get the spouse off and put them on the title, they're gonna have the same ownership to the property without hurting the score.
It's like you weigh, do you need their income enough to account for taking their bad score, right? And that's why they need to talk to you, and you get the big picture to say, okay, how do we do this?
And I can run a credit simulator for them and suggest, if, for example, we do need that spouse on the loan because of the income, I'll tell them, this is what you need to do to increase your score to the level where we need it to be. And once they do it, they provide me with evidence. I submit it to bureaus and they rescore them fast. We can do that as well.
Yes, and I'm so happy you said that, because it makes me want to reiterate a point you made earlier. If people think, oh, well, I'll pay this off and then cancel that card, and like you said earlier, don't do that, right? Because the canceling of the card ruins one of the amazing factors of the credit history, the length of credit history. But you're saying you have a credit simulator, a system that you can run everything in, and it'll tell them exactly what steps to take that would increase that?
Exactly. And if they follow the directions precisely, it increases the chance to increase the score to the level we needed. Because if they do what I tell them, but they also go beyond, and maybe sometimes paying off the credit card completely is worse than leaving a little bit of a balance, believe it or not. So the simulator tells me exactly what balance we need to see to have, and that's what we need to follow. And I tell people, don't self-diagnose yourself, don't self-medicate yourself. Just let me look, and I'll tell you exactly what needs to be done. And sometimes, and I hate when it happens, people think that paying off credit cards is going to help them, but it doesn't do anything but hurting them by, using up all their assets or a lot of their assets, and now they don't really have enough money, and they didn't really need to pay off the debt.
Right.
Qualify.
Yeah. Because there are so many factors depending on the loan programs, right, that they qualify for, that sometimes they might need to have so many months of reserves and assets. And if they use that money to pay off credit cards that they didn't need to pay off, then what are they going to do? It's not like they can say, my bad, credit card company, can you give me that back?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
a very good
I think
point.
the big takeaway is your loan officer is your friend, right? It's like they're your teammate, their partner. Yes, they're looking under the hood, but like they're gonna tell you exactly what to do to get you what you want, and that's the key.
And you got
Exactly.
an officer that listens and knows what you're looking to do. Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, and my goal is to help client to buy the house and qualify. So I would lead them. If they're not ready right now, I'll tell them what needs to be done, how to prepare to be able to get the mortgage in the future.
All right, well, that was really helpful.
Yeah,
We're going to use this a whole lot. All right, anything else? Any other pointers on this?
I think that's about it. But if anyone has further questions, they can always contact me. Can I give my contact information?
Yes, please do.
Yes.
My phone number is 571-245-3000.